Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're going to call this our annual shareholder meeting. It's in place of our gala. We usually run a gala. As you guys know, we did a gala in 2017 and again in 2019 for investors. Obviously, doing galas at this time of in our interesting year and a half is exceedingly difficult. So I'm glad to bring everybody together. It's wonderful to see so many wonderful faces that I've gotten to know over the years and some new faces. We are delighted to share some exciting announcements, some updates about what we've been up to. I'm delighted to introduce you to Robert Midas and Dan Benamor, our head of originals and our head of podcasts. We'll talk about that a lot. We will then move to Q&A. Okay, so we'll do a Q&A segment where you guys can ask questions. And then we will do our vote. The vote won't take very long. It'll probably be 5 minutes. The time on the, we'll probably spend, I would guess, about an hour and a half together total. So, let's plan on spending some time together. And, especially in that Q&A segment. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show some slides and move. Oh, I'm already in slideshow. Perfect. You'd think I was a master at this Zoom stuff. So welcome everybody. We have, when in 2017, when we set out to build this company and bring investors along the ride, we started with an incubator model, meaning we paired producers and storytellers together to create film and television projects. And we drilled down on that central theme for the last 4 or 5 years, bringing projects into the market for the last 4 years. And we have been really heads down. I think if you've been tracking our updates on WeFunder, especially this year, you can really see that inflection and that we've hit a stride. So in the last 4 years, we have produced 8 movies and shows. We have won an Emmy for one of our productions. We have executed over 280 deals and counting on behalf of our storyteller clients and their stories and intellectual property. And then in the last couple of years, our revenue has also followed suit. So really excited to report that last year, 2020, our revenue grew by approximately 50%. And in 2021, we are on pace to grow at 100%. So congratulations and thank you, investors, for being a part of that journey with us. At the end of last year, we spotted an opportunity that we just knew we had to capitalize on. We started to see this really strong emergence of audio drama podcasts in the industry. And we initially theorized that podcast and audio dramas would be a really incredible fit for the Voyage model. We theorized that, because podcasting can be something that one can produce and distribute internally versus having to go and ask for money, essentially, like film and television, millions of dollars, that we could do this on our own, within our own community, and therefore really be in the business of producing a lot of content. And then we knew we had this never-ending supply of stories coming into our incubator, and that we would have this never-ending supply of co-production financing within our community. But where it really started to kick in for us is that podcasts have emerged, especially in the last year or two, as Hollywood's new discovery engine for stories. It's a new way that Hollywood is both discovering and sharing projects. And so we knew strategically there was alignment for our bigger picture of film and television by leveraging podcasts to make that even more possible. And we also theorized, okay, that podcasting, like old radio, and like radio, it's an ad-supported model and a sponsorship-supported model. So there's this other revenue stream out there that we can capitalize on as a company and continue to grow. And then there was this really interesting realization that because we would eventually have a network of shows out there in the world that we were in control of, that we could market the incubator within the network of shows themselves, this contextual advertising potential, which in aggregate, if we were right, would create this really interesting flywheel. There's a business term called the flywheel effect, sort of propagated by Jim Collins of Good to Great. A flywheel is essentially an amalgam of distinct parts that work in concert together and create their own momentum, an internally generated growth force. And what's proved out is that's entirely accurate, meaning the flywheel that we theorized would emerge has emerged very, very quickly at Voyage. After only 3 months of being in this space in 2021, we already have 6-figure revenues. Our film and television projects are elevating and being discovered. Okay, the mobilization of our own community into not just storytellers but listeners is really an interesting, starting point. And so as we've been releasing shows, the big new thing that's emerged is we're realizing we have an audience that we get to communicate with now. And that's not something we've had before at Voyage. We've always had the ability to create film and television, but we've never owned and been able to communicate with our own audience. And that audience is emerging very, very rapidly. And that gives birth to a big idea for the company. And that big idea, going in reverse, is that we are now moving beyond just being an incubator. We are now a community of very passionate storytellers, creating a massive library of intellectual property to be shared with audiences and vetted by audiences and building traction with audiences, that intellectual property can then be leveraged across film, television, podcasts, video games, music, and books. And that's our new big idea that we're really proud to unveil to you. And that audience puts Voyage in a very, very unique position. Most traditional production companies, most talent agencies and management companies, they just don't have a one-to-one relationship with audiences. It's a very unique thing in the world. Okay. And then individual storytellers and podcasters aren't able to produce at scale, meaning they can, focus on 1 or 2 projects, okay, but they can't produce a lot. They can't really meet that surging demand for originals. And so Voyage finds itself in this quadrant where we can produce content at scale and have an audience. And that audience, that central concept puts us in the company of some other really unique companies that have been acquired over the last couple of years. For example, Wondery, which is a podcast studio, produces lots of podcasts, was acquired by Amazon for $300 million. Gimlet, another intellectual property podcast company, was acquired by Spotify for $200 million. And Wattpad, which we think is the most interesting roadmap comp of all. It's a platform that connects writers and readers and then leverages the intellectual property and that audience for film, television, and books. And that was acquired just this year for $600 million by a company called Naver. So we're very excited that we now have a roadmap to a very big idea. And what's also interesting and useful and fruitful is it doesn't change who we are. It's not an experiment. It's not a massive pivot for us. It doesn't change our operational model. It doesn't change our core values. Our core values retain, and we can leverage this very, very quickly. Okay, so our core values are very much intact. We continue to do things differently. We don't accept how things have always been done, and therefore it has to maintain itself that way. We want to seek to do things better, more friendly, more efficient. We welcome storytellers from all over the world. We believe everyone has a story to share and everyone deserves a fair shot. So we are opening up Hollywood. We've always been at the core of that. And then for the industry, for the media and entertainment industry, we are a viable path for project discovery at scale in a way that's very easy and very efficient. And so those core values and our essence really retains itself. What does having an audience at Voyage, which is our new big idea, what does that mean for us? It puts us in an incredible, strong position to really claim a significant seat at the global $2.6 trillion entertainment and media industry and claim a powerful seat at that table. And it leverages some really interesting aspects of the entertainment and media industry. So podcasting is one of the fastest growing sectors. It's growing at a rate of over 22% year over year through 2025. Film and television is projected to grow over 5% during that same time period. And that's all supersedes the growth rate of the underlying entertainment and media sector, which is at about 2.5%. So it's this intersection of very high growth activity inside the industry. Now, as you probably have, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that demand for originals is through the roof. Amazon and Netflix, early players in the game, sort of causing that surge. The number of originals in market doubled in the last 10 years. And to put that into perspective, it's a 100-year-old industry. So imagine just that inflection point in the last 10 years. And now you have, everybody getting into the streaming game. You have NBC moving in with Peacock. You have Disney moving in with Disney Plus. You have HBO. Obviously, Hulu's been in the market for quite some time. And all of those platforms are taking their content off of each other's platforms and making them exclusive. And they all have to play the game of attracting subscribers and retaining subscribers by constantly delivering new and originals. So it is not, the demand for original content is not going anywhere other than up. And then, 2 to 3 years ago, there was a trend in the industry of what are called mega mergers, right? So Amazon bought MGM, Disney bought Fox. But in the last 2 years, it's really started to shift towards those bigger conglomerates and bigger platforms starting to gobble up the smaller content providers like Wondery, like Gimlet, like Wattpad, Hint, like Voyage. So we're at the really interesting time in an inflecting market. And we are poised to capitalize on that quickly. We have some incredible key performance indicators that have emerged over the last 2 years. As I mentioned earlier, revenue last year up almost 50%. This year on pace to grow at over 100%. Our community size, actually this slide is already out of date from when I put it together about 3 weeks ago. We are already at about 175,000 in terms of our community size. And so I think we're going to easily eclipse 200,000 by the end of the year. And then we have this really interesting long-standing metric, our return on investment of our advertising dollars. For every dollar we put into advertising, we pull 6 out. And that's a really incredible flywheel in and of itself. It's a cash machine. It's a cash machine we really want to leverage and capitalize on further. And then our newest key performance indicator, producer fees and ad revenue. Okay, these are the revenues we get when we successfully produce content, when we successfully distribute content, when those movies and shows become profitable, when advertisers start spending money on podcasts. And you can see just by the graph, it's inflecting between 2019 and 2021 projected. We're very, very excited about what that means. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that means And so what's going on? So what we want to do at the company and why we called this meeting is we are raising money to accelerate growth without risking our working capital, without risking our day-to-day cash flow. We want to accelerate growth. We want to do it. We have a roadmap to do it. To hit our objectives, our 2025 objectives are to get to 2.4 million storyteller users, to produce 12 films per year, over 100 television episodes per year, to produce 600 podcast episodes per year, and to attain by 2025 an audience of over 100 million. And in order to hit those objectives, we're looking to accomplish an equity infusion, again, without risking working capital, so that we can bring on some key hires. We want to hire a VP of strategic partnerships. That role will be sorting bigger strategic partnerships for the company. So think about financiers and distributors like Amazon and Netflix. How do we move from one-to-one deal making with them to many deals per year? But also looking for ads, advertisers, and sponsors. So we want to build out this podcast team to help us exploit that new revenue stream. We need to build new technology. Right now, we are living on two primary websites and apps. Okay, so voyagemedia.com, our standard incubator website, and voyagemedia.fm, our listener website. And over the next year with this raise, we're going to merge those two into a new site and app that's going to basically consume our incubator within it and create a lot of free value to people to create this viral acquisition of both listeners and audience members and also storytellers. And then we need more capital to accelerate the audience base. It takes money to reach audience. And so we want to leverage equity to be able to do that and make it more rapid than we're already doing. And if we do this, and if we do it well, and these are projections, so I can't guarantee these results, but these are projections built on 4 to 5 years of pre-existing data mapped out over those 2025 objectives. What I want you to notice in this slide are three particular lines. Okay, the second line is incubator revenue. So that's our existing, previous to 2021 model. That model still exists at Voyage. If we get to 2.4 million users and we project out current metrics across that, we're going to hit revenues. Let me just arrange my slide of about 48 million in gross revenue. The second line I want you to notice, producer fee and ad revenue, that yellow line. That's the gravy, that's the inflection revenue. That's the revenue we get when we are successful at producing and distributing content and having that content go well. If we hit those objectives, those 2025 objectives, by 2025, we should have 10 million of revenue, gross revenue coming to the company. And again, that is what we call gravy revenue. It's very high margin for the company. And when you combine those, we're approaching 60 million of gross revenue. And because there's that gravy, that yellow, that high margin revenue, we believe we can get net income of 20 million, over 20 million on that 60 million of revenue. So we think it's a really incredible opportunity. We believe in, obviously, we believe in what we're up to. So how do you guys make money? All right, you guys are all existing investors, and we're bringing future investors, and we're inviting you to consider investing again. Okay, so how do you make money? We will continue to be open to the possibility of, at some later date, changing our strategy and moving in towards an IPO. But our current strategy is we believe we're a target for an acquisition. Okay, and we believe we're a target for an acquisition most likely by a platform like an Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, Facebook, right? We're an obvious fit for acquisition from a platform. We believe we could be interesting for a studio to acquire. We believe they would buy us for innovation, right? Those dinosaurs of a business need to innovate, and they do so through acquisitions largely. We think we would be an interesting target for a talent agency who likes our model, that incubator of bringing them talent, bringing them IP that they can leverage through their existing business model. And so if we sell at a valuation that's higher than our current valuation, and we believe we have a path to a $200 to $300 million valuation by 2025, if we hit those metrics, if we hit those objectives, okay, and that far exceeds our current valuation, then we will all be making money. And that's how investors make money at the company. And so with that, we are again opening in what's likely to be the last round for the crowd to invest.